Hello everyone, and thank you yet again for dropping by to see one of my episodes from HSBG Rules. This isn't going too bad. I'm struggling with some of the recordings, and I'm struggling with understanding how to get this nice and clear to you guys, but I'm cracking on, doing some research and finding answers to some of the questions. Alright, so listen, this is going to be based on a question from Josh Triffid from down south. Great lad. Met him at Finchley at one of the tournaments, and yeah, he had a great showing for himself. His very first tournament, and he managed to pull a seventh place slot there. So, well done, Josh. Okay, cracking on with your question. Do wargs with riders have attacks, and do they get +1 attacks for charging? I'm going to break that question down into two sections. The first one, do wargs with riders have attacks? The answer is no. A warg with a rider is classed as a cavalry model, and the rules under page 49 of Cavalry states what is a cavalry model. At the top of the page, a cavalry model consists of a rider and its mount. Therefore, riders who are dismounted and mounts that lose their riders are no longer considered to be cavalry models. Well, a cavalry model on page 52 of the rulebook, in the second paragraph, states, a cavalry model always uses the highest fight, strength, and attack characteristics available to the rider and mount. If it can even use, or mix, should I say, the use of these characteristics, such as using the rider's fight value and the mount's strength, etc. So, to sum it up, a cavalry model has a set attack value based on the mix of best statistics rather than the sum of attacks. So your orc on a warg will have 1 attack. Okay. The orc dismounts from the warg. If the warg passes its courage test and remains on the board, the warg has 1 attack. The orc has 1 attack, but they are now 2 separate models. Slightly different to the horse and slightly different to the fell beast. In the case of the horse, if the rider is slain or dismounts or knocked to the ground, okay, the horse immediately flees from the battlefield and is treated as a casualty. A fell beast goes to its rule called feral, which states that it will automatically flee if the rider dismounts or the rider is killed. Okay. Right, coming to your second part of your question, do they get +1 attacks for charging? I am imagining you're asking, does the warg get +1 on his own, i.e. if he charges? He's not a cavalry model, and only cavalry models get 2 bonuses, and these bonuses are the +1 for charging and knockdown. So coming back to your warg, on his own, he just has normal attack, whether he charges or is charged. If he has a rider, and he's classed as a cavalry model, now they will get +1 for charging. Okay, so talking about the bonuses, and this includes the +1 for charging. There are two rules, right, that cover cavalry charges. They're like 2 bonuses. A cavalry gets +1 attack and a knockdown rule. Reference the +1 attack. Page 52, the last line in the page states, note that even if the rider is using the attack values of his mount, he still gets the additional attack this turn. Okay? So that's quite important. And I want to clarify that a little bit further, because I've seen a few people ask on posts and forums, etc., what about if the cavalry model is subsequently charged after he initially charges? Okay, so on page 52, paragraph 3, under cavalry charge, it states, cavalry charges receive bonuses regardless of the number of enemy models he charges, so long as all his models are models on foot. These bonuses apply even if the mounted model is subsequently charged by other enemies on foot. Okay, so orc on warg charges hobbit, poor hobbit. Other hobbits in their move phase charge the orc and the warg as cavalry model. If the orc in war, if the cavalry model, in this case, wins the combat all of the hobbits are knocked to the ground. Reflect back. Sorry, this is one of my problems with recording. The orc and the warg, as a cavalry model, will get an extra 1 attack, so they'll have 2 attacks to the attacks of the hobbits. On those attacks, if the orc and warg cavalry model wins, all the hobbits are knocked to the ground. The orc and warg now, as one cavalry model, I'm repeating myself over and over, will basically get 2 attacks, plus they will get an extra 2 attacks because the hobbits now are classed as prone, okay, or trapped. Right. The knock to the ground rule, on page 53 of the rule book again, it says if a cavalry model with this bonus wins a fight, all of his opponents are knocked to the ground, except for monsters or other models with a strength of 6 or more. So if a Rohan rider charges into an orc and a troll at the same time, he will still get the +1 to his attack, but only the orc will be knocked down. The troll will not be. So I hope that kind of sorts a few things out there, and I hope that answers your question, Josh, and I really appreciate that. I want to elaborate a bit more using cavalry, because recently I've seen, in fact this morning, I've seen a post asking about fell wargs and about line of sight, and if a fell warg is a cavalry model with an orc on top, do they lose that line of sight, or do they keep it because of the fell warg's ability? Well, after doing a little bit of research on page 51 of the Hobbit rules, again, at the top of the page, on the cav and shooting, it states, remember, we always measure the line of sight from the point of view of the rider. Interesting. On page 49, in the 3rd paragraph of the rule books, it says, who sees, rider or mount? And it states, in the case of a cavalry model, as the rider is directing his mount, line of sight is always taken from the perspective of the rider and is never blocked by the mount. This is important for establishing whether a model has line of sight to an enemy he is about to charge, or that he intends to shoot. And we could leave it at that, and that would be perfectly fine, and people would think, yeah, okay, that is the rule. But that's what this channel is about. A little more research, looking onto heroes and villains under the term evil warriors, it states fell wargs, or a model riding one, does not require line of sight to its enemy to charge. So to answer that potential question that's out there at the moment in the forum, a fell warg with a rider still can charge without line of sight. Okay, well, I hope that kind of sums a few things up there, and really enjoyed doing research for this, and it's really helped me because I'm learning so much myself. I'm hoping to do another video based on monsters and their attacks, etc., and their uses, but you know, I'm really hoping that people will start poking in a few questions to try and help me specify, rather than reading out the whole rule book and carrying backwards and forwards, which would take hours. I'd like to try and get a few specific questions there. So if you're interested, guys, just, you know, you don't have to comment, sorry, you don't have to subscribe, you don't have to like, but please put in a comment. If you've any form of a rule query, or you've just played a game with a mate and you're unsure, just throw it in there. I'll do the work for you. I'll research it. Okay, well listen, thank you very, very much for watching, and happy strategy battle gaming. Or actually, just have fun, guys. Okay, well, speak soon. Bye for now.